Hello and welcome. You're about to read a special retelling of The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett, a simplified and shortened version of the classic story, written in easy English to help you learn. Read it out loud, repeat after the audio, and copy the rhythm and tone. This is called the shadowing method, and it's a fun, powerful way to improve your English. Now, let's open the gate, step into the secret garden, and let the magic begin. Chapter 1. There is no one left. Mary Lennox was a little girl who lived in India. Her parents were rich, but they did not love her. Her mother liked to go to parties. Her father was always busy. So, the servants took care of Mary. They gave her everything she wanted, but no one hugged her or smiled at her. She became cross, spoiled, and lonely. She never played with other children. One day, something terrible happened. A disease called cholera came to the town. People got sick very fast. Many died, including Mary's parents and most of the servants. At first, no one noticed Mary was still alive. She stayed alone in the house, angry and afraid. Finally, a man found her. He looked at her and said, "There is no one left." Mary was sent away. She had no home now, so she was put on a ship to England. She was going to live with her uncle, Mr. Archibald Craven, at a place called Misselthwaite Manor. It was a big house on the Yorkshire moor. Mary did not know her uncle. She had never seen the English countryside. Everything was strange. The air was colder. The sky looked grey. On the ship, Mary sat quietly. She watched the water. She did not talk to people. She still felt angry. She missed her old life, even if it had been lonely. When she arrived in England, a woman named Mrs. Medlock met her. Mrs. Medlock worked at Misselthwaite Manor. She was not very friendly. She looked at Mary and said, "You are going to a strange place." Mary did not answer. Mrs. Medlock took her on a train and then in a carriage. They drove for hours over the moor. Mary saw wide fields with no trees. There were hills and wild winds. It looked very empty. Mary thought it was ugly and cold. Finally, they reached Misselthwaite Manor. It was a huge, dark house with many windows and tall walls. The front door was heavy. When it opened, Mary saw a long hall with paintings and statues. Everything was quiet and a little scary. Chapter 2. Mistakes. Mrs. Medlock took Mary up many stairs to a bedroom. The room was big and old. It had a fireplace and a tall bed. Mrs. Medlock said, "You will stay here. Your uncle does not like to be disturbed. He is a very sad man." Then she left Mary alone. Mary sat on the bed. She felt small. The wind outside made soft sounds. The bed was soft, but the room felt cold. That night, Mary could not sleep well. She heard strange sounds, creaks, whispers, and a sound like someone crying far away. She did not know what the noises were. She was frightened, but she did not call out. She did not want to look weak. In the morning, a maid came in. Her name was Martha. She was not like the Indian servants. Martha spoke with a Yorkshire accent. She was cheerful and talked a lot. Mary was surprised. She said, "Why do you talk so much?" Martha smiled and said, "Because I like to talk. It helps the day go faster." Martha gave Mary breakfast. She said she had 9 brothers and sisters. They lived in a small cottage on the moor. Mary was shocked. 9, she said. That sounds awful. But Martha laughed. "It's not awful. We have fun." Mary didn't understand this kind of life. Martha said Mary should dress herself. Mary was angry. "In India, my servants dressed me." Martha shook her head. "You're old enough to do it alone." Mary tried, but she got confused with the buttons. Martha helped her. Then Martha told Mary about the gardens outside. There were many gardens around the house. One garden had been locked for 10 years. The door was hidden. No one had been inside since Mr. Craven's wife died. She had loved that garden. When she died, Mr. Craven locked it. No one knew where the key was. Mary's eyes lit up. "A secret garden?" she asked. "Yes," said Martha, "a secret garden. But you mustn't look for it. No one ever goes there." Mary wanted to go out. Martha said she could walk on the moor, but she needed fresh air first. Mary put on her coat and stepped outside. The wind was strong. The moor was wide and wild. There were no trees, just low bushes and grass. But something about it felt exciting. Mary started to walk. She saw a robin flying from tree to tree. It sang a song that made her stop and smile. When she came back, she asked Martha about the robin. "That's a moor robin," said Martha. "They're clever birds." Mary felt something new. She was curious. She asked more questions. Martha said, "Maybe the moor is good for you." Mary went to bed early. She still heard strange sounds at night. She asked Martha about them. Martha said it was just the wind, but Mary wasn't sure. She thought she heard a child crying. She wanted to know where the sound came from. As she closed her eyes, she thought about the moor, the robin, and the locked garden. Something had changed. She wasn't just angry anymore. She was curious. Chapter 3. Across the moor. The next morning, Mary woke up early. She felt cold, but she also felt something new. She was not angry. She wanted to see the moor again. She washed and dressed herself, still a little slow, but she tried hard. Martha brought her breakfast and smiled. "You're looking better today," she said. Mary looked out the window. The moor was gray, but it looked interesting. Martha talked while Mary ate. She told stories about her home. Her family was poor, but they laughed a lot. Her little brother, Dickon, loved animals. He could tame wild creatures, even foxes and squirrels. Mary listened closely. She had never heard stories like this before. They made her feel warm inside. Mary asked again about the secret garden. Martha shook her head. "I've never seen it. They say it's behind a high wall, and the door is hidden. It's been locked for 10 years. Mary said, "I want to find it." Martha laughed kindly. "You're curious now, that's good. Go play in the gardens you can see. The fresh air will help you." So, Mary put on her coat and went outside. She walked slowly at first. Everything looked strange and wild. The grass was wet, the wind strong, but she liked it. She saw many trees and hedges. She followed a path past flower beds. Some looked empty. Winter had made them bare, but Mary could imagine what they might look like in spring. Suddenly, a robin flew past her. It landed on a wall. It chirped and tilted its head at her. Mary felt happy. She talked to the bird. "Hello, little robin," she said. The robin hopped closer, not afraid. Mary smiled. She felt like it understood her. She followed it along the wall, hoping it would lead her somewhere. As she walked, she saw an old man with a spade. He was digging in the earth. He had a rough face and looked serious. Mary stood and watched. The man looked up and nodded. "Good day," he said. Mary didn't answer. She wasn't sure if she should speak first. The man kept digging. The robin flew down to him. He smiled. "Ah, there you are," he said to the bird. Then he looked at Mary again. "He knows me. Birds and beasts know who's kind to them." Mary stepped closer. "Is he your bird?" The man shook his head. "No one owns a robin. He's free. But he knows I'm his friend." Mary liked the sound of that. She said, "He came to me too." The man nodded. "He sees your heart. Maybe you're learning to be kind." Mary felt shy. "What's your name?" she asked. "I'm Ben Weatherstaff, the gardener." He looked at her closely. "You've got a sour face, but maybe the moor will change it." Mary didn't know what to say. The robin chirped again and flew to a tree. Mary watched him fly and smiled. She asked Ben about the locked garden. His face changed. "Don't ask about that," he said. "It's been locked since the missus died. No one goes in." Mr. Craven locked the door and buried the key. Mary's eyes grew wide. "Bury the key?" she whispered. "Yes," said Ben, "deep under the earth." Mary felt something stir inside her. A secret garden. A hidden key. She looked at the wall again. Somewhere behind it was something lost and quiet. She didn't say anything more, but in her heart, she knew she wanted to find it. Chapter 4. Martha. Later that day, Mary sat in her room. Martha came in with fresh towels. Mary looked at her and said, "Tell me more about your brother." Martha laughed. "Dickon. He's special. Animals love him. He plays a wooden pipe, and birds come to him." Mary leaned forward. "I'd like to meet him." Martha smiled. "Maybe one day. But he's shy with strangers." She sat down and looked at Mary kindly. "You're changing," she said. "When you came, you looked like a sour old woman. But now you've got a spark in your eyes." Mary was surprised. "I don't feel so cross anymore," she said. "That's the moor," said Martha. "It makes your blood move. You breathe deep and feel alive." Mary nodded. "I like walking. I like the robin. And I want to find the secret garden." Martha's eyes grew wide. "You still think about it?" Mary stood up and paced the room. "I think about it all the time. If I could just find the door." Her voice faded. Martha stood too. "Well, just be careful. Mr. Craven doesn't like people talking about it." Mary looked out the window. "Where is he?" Martha looked down. "He travels. He says the house is too sad without his wife. He only comes back now and then. You might not even see him." Mary felt sorry for her uncle. She understood what it meant to feel alone. She asked, "Did he love her very much?" Martha nodded. "Yes. She was kind and full of life. When she died, everything changed. Mary was quiet for a moment. Then she said, I want to be outside all the time. I don't like sitting here. Martha laughed. That's good. It means your heart is waking up. She reached into her pocket and took out something wrapped in paper. Here, she said. Mother made this for you. It's a little jump rope. You need to get strong. Mary unwrapped the rope. It was simple, but she smiled. Thank you, she said softly. Then she picked it up and began to skip. Slowly at first, then faster. Martha clapped her hands. That's it. You're starting to live. Mary felt her cheeks grow warm. For the first time in her life, she laughed. It was a small laugh, but it was real. That night, as she lay in bed, Mary heard the wind again. And again, far away, she thought she heard a sound. It was faint, like crying. But when she asked Martha, Martha only said, it's the wind in the halls. Mary didn't believe it. Something else was in this house. And she would find out what. Chapter 5. The Cry in the Corridor. The next morning was rainy. Mary could not go outside. She walked around the room and tried to skip with her new rope. But she wanted something more. She was full of energy now. She needed something to explore. She remembered what Martha had said, the house had 100 rooms. Most were closed, but not locked. Mary looked out the window. The sky was gray. The wind made soft sounds against the glass. She made a decision. She would explore the house. She opened the door and stepped into the long, quiet corridor. The walls were covered with old pictures. There were carpets on the floor and heavy wooden doors on both sides. Mary walked slowly. Her shoes made soft taps as she moved. She opened one door. It was a bedroom, empty and cold. She closed it and tried another. This one was full of old books and chairs covered with cloth. She moved from room to room. Each one was different. Some had broken furniture, others had paintings of people in strange clothes. Mary looked at the faces in the paintings. They stared back silently. She did not feel afraid. She felt curious. As she walked, she forgot to be angry. She forgot to feel alone. Everything was new. The silence, the old smell of the rooms, the tall windows. It was like being in a story. Suddenly, she stopped. She heard something. It was soft, far away. It sounded like someone crying. Mary stood very still. The sound came again. A child's cry, faint but clear. She turned her head. It came from behind a wall, or maybe from down another corridor. She followed the sound, step by step. It grew louder. Then, just as she reached a corner, a door opened. Mrs. Medlock came out. Mary jumped. Mrs. Medlock stared at her. What are you doing here? She said sharply. You must not wander about. Mary hesitated. I heard someone crying, she said. Mrs. Medlock's face changed. Nonsense. It was the wind. Go back to your room. Her voice was firm. Mary looked back down the corridor. But the crying had stopped. She walked slowly back to her room. Her mind was full of questions. Someone was crying. She was sure. But who? That night, as she lay in bed, she listened. But all she heard was the wind. Chapter 6. There was someone crying. There was. The rain continued the next day. Mary stayed indoors again. She felt restless. When Martha came with her breakfast, Mary looked at her seriously. Martha, she said, I heard someone crying yesterday. Martha paused. She looked down, folding the corner of the blanket. It must have been the wind, she said softly. No, said Mary, it was a real cry. A child's cry. Martha shook her head. You shouldn't ask too many questions. It's not good. Then she changed the subject quickly. Mother sent something for you again. She handed Mary a small package. Inside was a skipping rope, longer and better than the one before. Mary smiled. Please thank your mother, she said. And tell me more about Dickon. Martha relaxed. She talked about her brother. How he wandered the moor and talked to animals. How foxes followed him. How birds landed on his shoulders. Mary listened with wide eyes. I want to meet him, she said. Martha smiled. Maybe you will. Later, the rain stopped. Mary went into the garden again. She walked along the paths, but her eyes searched for something new. She looked at every wall. Could there be a door hidden in ivy? She looked carefully, but nothing showed. Then, while walking near an old wall, she saw the robin again. He flew from one branch to another, then landed on the top of the wall. He chirped and looked at her. Mary smiled. Hello again, she said. Do you live here? The robin sang. Mary laughed. You're not afraid of me, she said. Do you know the secret? The bird tilted his head and flew down into the garden beyond the wall. Mary walked along the edge. "How do I get in?" she whispered. As she walked, she noticed something strange. The ivy on part of the wall was thinner. She moved closer. Her heart beat faster. Her fingers touched the stone. Then she gasped. She had found something, a ring of metal, rusty and cold. A door handle. She pulled, but the door did not move. It was locked. Her heart sank. She pulled again. Still nothing. The robin flew above her, chirping happily. Mary stepped back. The door was real, but it needed a key. She walked away slowly. Her mind was full of thoughts. She had found the door. Now she had to find the key. Chapter 7. The Key of the Garden. Mary woke up early the next morning. The rain had stopped, and the sky was pale blue. She dressed quickly and asked Martha if she could go outside again. Martha smiled and said yes. Before leaving, Mary asked, "Martha, do you think there really is a key to the secret garden?" Martha looked a little nervous. "Some say Mr. Craven buried it when his wife died. No one has seen it for years." Mary nodded. She didn't tell Martha that she had already found the door. She wanted to keep it her own secret. Outside, the moor wind felt fresh and wild. Mary skipped along the garden paths. Her eyes were sharp now. She noticed every leaf, every stone. She walked near the old wall again. The robin flew over her head and landed on a spade left in the ground. Ben Weatherstaff was nearby, digging the earth. Mary went over to him. "Good morning," she said. "Morning," said Ben without looking up. The robin chirped. Ben smiled at the bird. "He's talking to you," he said. Mary bent down. "I think he shows me things," she said softly. Ben looked at her. "He's clever, that one. Likes people with soft voices." Mary nodded. "Ben, if you found a door hidden in a wall, what would you do?" Ben stopped digging and looked at her with sharp eyes. "What kind of door?" "A garden door. One no one uses." Ben frowned. "You'd best not go poking where you're not wanted." Mary stayed quiet. She didn't want him to be angry. Then she said, "What if someone wanted to make the garden come alive again?" Ben looked surprised. "That would take years. Everything's grown wild in there. Dead, maybe." Mary looked down. "Maybe not. Maybe something still lives." The robin flew to the wall again and chirped loudly. Mary followed him. He landed near the place where she had found the door. She didn't touch it. She just stood still. The robin hopped down to the grass and began pulling at the earth with his beak. Mary stepped closer. There, half hidden in the soil, something shiny caught the light. Her heart raced. She bent down and picked it up. It was a small key, old and rusty. She looked at it, then looked at the door. The robin chirped again. Mary whispered, "You showed me the key." She slipped it into her coat pocket and walked slowly away. She did not try the door that day. It was enough to know she had the key. It felt heavy and secret. She wanted to wait for the right moment. Chapter 8. The Robin Who Showed the Way. The next day was even brighter. The sun made the moor shine with soft gold and green. Mary skipped outside after breakfast. She felt like she was holding a treasure in her pocket. She walked past the gardens quickly and went straight to the wall. She looked around. No one was nearby. The robin sat in the same tree, watching her. Mary reached into her coat and pulled out the key. Her fingers shook. She moved the ivy carefully. The metal ring was still there. She pushed the key into the lock. It fit perfectly. She turned it. There was a loud click. The door creaked open. Mary stepped inside. The air smelled old and sweet. The garden was quiet. Tall walls surrounded it. Vines grew over the stone. The trees were bare from winter, but small green shoots pushed through the earth. There were roses, twisted and dry, but still clinging to the fences. There were flower beds full of old leaves and weeds, but also signs of life. Mary stood still for a long moment. Then she walked slowly. She touched the branches. She bent down to smell the soil. She felt as if she had walked into a dream. Birds fluttered in the trees. A squirrel ran across the wall. The robin followed her, chirping softly. Mary looked up and whispered, "It's not dead. It's only asleep." She spent hours inside. She pulled away dead leaves. She found shoots of crocuses and snowdrops. Under the brown, there was green. She didn't know the names of the plants, but she could feel their strength. She didn't want to leave. But at last, she closed the door gently and turned the key. She put it back in her pocket and smiled. Back in her room, she told Martha she had found a place she liked. Martha was happy to hear it. She said, "You've got color in your cheeks now." Mary skipped in her room with the jump rope. She did 50 skips without stopping. "I'm getting stronger," she said. Martha laughed. "You're turning into a real girl now." Later, Mary asked more about Dickon. She said, If I met him, do you think he'd keep a secret? Martha tilted her head. He's the best at secrets. He doesn't talk if you tell him not to. Mary nodded. Then I want to meet him. That night, as Mary lay in bed, she heard the cry again. Soft, far away. A child's cry. She sat up. She knew she hadn't imagined it. She whispered into the dark, there is someone. And I'll find out who it is. Chapter 9. The strangest house anyone ever lived in. The next morning, Mary woke up early again. She wanted to go back to the garden, but she also wanted to talk to Martha first. Martha, she said as the maid placed the breakfast tray, why does everyone pretend no one is crying in this house? Martha looked surprised. You still say you hear it? Yes, said Mary. A child is crying. I know I'm right. Martha hesitated. It's not for me to say. I'm not supposed to talk about it. Mary frowned. But I heard it clearly. Why does no one want to tell me the truth? Martha bit her lip. Miss Mary, this house is strange. Mr. Craven made it that way. After his wife died, everything changed. The house grew quiet, and many things were locked away. Mary thought about that. She felt sorry for Mr. Craven, but also more curious than ever. Then she changed the subject. Will Dickon come to see me? I've written to Mother, said Martha. She'll send him. He'll bring you a gift too. Mary smiled. She could hardly wait. After breakfast, she ran out to the garden. She unlocked the door and stepped inside. The sunlight made everything brighter than before. She breathed in the cool air and smiled at the trees. It felt like hers now, her place, her secret. She spent the morning pulling away more weeds and old branches. She talked to the plants, even though they didn't answer. It made her feel peaceful. The robin flew above her, chirping as if he understood. After some time, she sat on the ground and looked around. There were so many plants she didn't know. But she believed that if she worked every day, they would grow. She could help the garden come alive again. When she returned to the house, she felt tired but happy. She had dirt on her hands and leaves in her hair. Martha laughed. You look like you've been digging with foxes. Mary laughed too. Maybe I have. That night, she dreamed about flowers blooming and the robins singing above her head. Chapter 10, Dickon. 2 days later, something wonderful happened. Mary was in her room when Martha came in with a big smile. He's come, she said. Dickon's here. And he's brought something for you. Mary jumped up. Where is he? He's outside, said Martha. He said he'd wait in the gardens. Go on then. Mary grabbed her coat and ran out. She found Dickon sitting on the grass, surrounded by animals. A squirrel was on his shoulder. 2 birds sat near his feet. He had a gentle smile and bright eyes. Are you Dickon? She asked. He stood up. I am. You must be Miss Mary. She nodded. How do the animals sit with you like that? He grinned. They trust me. I never hurt them, and I always talk soft. He handed her a small package. Mother sent these. She said you might need them. Mary opened it. Inside were packets of seeds, flowers, vegetables, and herbs. Her heart jumped. These are for me. Dickon nodded. You said you wanted a bit of earth, didn't you? Mary smiled. Yes. I'll plant them. Thank you. They began to walk together. Mary led him to the secret garden. She looked around to make sure no one saw, then pulled out the key and opened the door. Dickon stepped inside, looking around in wonder. Is this it? He whispered. Yes, said Mary. No one knows I found the key. I've been cleaning it a little every day. Dickon walked slowly. He touched the trees, looked at the beds. It's not dead, he said. It's just waiting. Mary smiled. That's what I thought too. They spent hours together, talking and working. Dickon showed her how to use a small trowel and how to clear space for seeds. He talked to the plants the way he talked to animals. Mary watched him. He seemed like part of the earth itself, like someone born from the moor. As they planted the first seeds, Dickon said, the sun's warm enough. You'll see things grow soon. Mary felt a strange joy in her chest. It was more than happiness. It was hope. Before he left, Dickon said, I'll come again soon. I'll bring more tools. But this garden's safe with you. Mary nodded. It's our secret. He smiled and touched the robin's head gently. Even he knows. After Dickon left, Mary sat alone for a while in the garden. She looked at the seeds they had planted, at the trees above her, and at the wall all around. She whispered to the flowers beneath the soil, wake up. We're ready for you now. That evening, as she walked back through the house, she heard it again. The crying. It was louder now. She followed the sound, step by step, through the dark corridor. She stopped at a door she had never opened before. She held her breath, and knocked. Chapter 11. The nest of the missel thrush. Mary stood still after knocking. There was silence. Then, slowly, the door opened. Inside was a dark room with heavy curtains and strange furniture. In a bed with tall posts lay a boy, pale and thin. His eyes were big and gray, and his face was sad. Mary stepped inside, unsure. The boy looked at her. "Who are you?" he asked. "I'm Mary Lennox," she said. "Who are you?" "I'm Colin. Colin Craven. Mr. Craven is my father." Mary's eyes widened. "Then we are cousins." "Yes," said Colin. "No one told me you were here." "No one told me you were here either," said Mary. They stared at each other. Then Colin said, "Come closer. I don't get visitors." Mary walked to his bed. He looked sick, but his voice was strong. He said, "I'm always ill. They think I'll die." Mary didn't know what to say. "You don't look like you're dying," she said honestly. Colin laughed a little. "You're not like the others. They treat me like I'm glass. But you talk straight." Mary sat beside the bed. "Why do you cry at night?" Colin looked surprised. "I didn't know anyone heard me." "I did. The whole house is quiet, but I hear you. You sounded lonely." "I am lonely," he said. "No one loves me. My father won't look at me. He thinks I remind him of my mother, who died." Mary looked into his eyes. "I know about her garden. The one behind the wall." Colin sat up slightly. "You do. I've dreamed about that garden, but I've never seen it." Mary smiled. "I have. I found the key." Colin gasped. "Is it still there?" "Yes," said Mary. "And it's coming alive." Colin looked amazed. "Will you take me there?" "Not yet," she said. "You need to get stronger. But when you do, we'll go together." Colin leaned back into the pillows. For the first time, his face looked peaceful. "Stay and talk to me," he said. "I don't want to be alone." Mary stayed until he fell asleep. Then she left quietly, her heart beating fast. She had found the crying child. And now, everything would change. Chapter 12. Might I have a bit of earth? The next morning, Mary felt like the world had turned new again. She went out early, ran to the garden, and opened the door. Inside, everything smelled like spring. Shoots of green had started to rise. The sun warmed the walls. She walked around, touching leaves, thinking about Colin. She skipped rope until she was breathless, then sat under a tree. She thought about Dickon, and about the garden growing strong. Later, when Martha came to her room, Mary asked, "Did you know about Colin?" Martha looked shocked. "You saw him?" "Yes," said Mary. "We talked. He cried because he was lonely. I stayed with him." Martha was quiet. Then she said, "They say he's weak, but I don't think he is. He just needs sunshine and someone to care." Mary nodded. "That's what I thought too." That afternoon, Mary visited Colin again. He was sitting up in bed, waiting for her. "You came back," he said. "Of course," said Mary. "Why wouldn't I? No one comes back. They're afraid of me." "I'm not afraid," said Mary. "You just need fresh air and company." They talked for hours. Colin told her how the doctor said he might have a crooked back like his father. But no one was sure. "Sometimes I feel strong," he said. "Other times, I feel like I might die." Mary looked at him closely. "You need to come to the garden. It will make you strong." Colin's eyes lit up. "Promise you'll take me?" "I promise." He smiled. "Mary, might I have a bit of earth too? Just a little piece of the garden that's mine." Mary nodded. "Of course you can." That evening, Mary met Dickon again outside the wall. She told him about Colin. Dickon listened carefully. He said, "if he's like you, he'll grow better every day." "He's lonely," said Mary. "But not broken. I know he can walk someday." Dickon smiled. "Then we'll help him." They went into the garden. The plants were growing faster now. New buds opened. The robins sang from the branches. Everything felt alive. Mary looked up and whispered, "It's working." Dickon nodded. "Magic," he said softly. Mary smiled. "Yes. Magic." And they both believed it. Chapter 13. I am Colin. The next morning, Mary went straight to Colin's room. He was sitting up, looking toward the window. When he saw her, he smiled. "I dreamed about the garden," he said. "There was sunshine and birds, and I could walk." Mary nodded. "That's not just a dream. It can happen." Colin looked serious. "Do you really believe that, Mary?" "Yes," she said. "I've seen what the garden can do. It changes everything." Just then, the doctor came in. He was surprised to see Colin sitting up and smiling. "This is unusual," he said. "What's changed?" "I feel better," said Colin. "Because of Mary. She talks to me like I'm not sick." The doctor looked curious. "That's good, very good. Perhaps you need more of that." After he left, Colin turned to Mary. "I want to see the garden." Mary took his hand. "Soon, very soon." That afternoon, Mary told Dickon everything. "Colin wants to come, but he's weak." Dickon nodded. "Then we must take care. But I think he's ready." They planned how to get him outside without anyone seeing. The house was large and full of unused halls. Dickon said, "I'll bring a wheelchair. We'll cover it with a blanket." 2 days later, they were ready. Dickon came in quietly through the secret door in the garden wall. He rolled the chair to Colin's room. Martha helped dress Colin in warm clothes. No one else knew what they were doing. Mary held Colin's hand as they wheeled him through the quiet halls. He looked nervous but excited. Outside, the wind was soft and fresh. Colin took a deep breath. "It smells like life," he whispered. They reached the garden wall. Dickon pulled away the ivy, and Mary turned the key. The door opened. Colin's eyes grew wide. They rolled him inside. Everything was green. Flowers were blooming. Trees had fresh leaves. The sun shone through the branches. Birds sang. The robin flew over their heads. Colin gasped. "It's real," he said. "It's better than my dream." Mary and Dickon smiled. They wheeled him to a soft patch of grass under a tree. Dickon lay down beside him, and Mary sat cross-legged. No one spoke for a while. Then Colin whispered, "I feel different." Mary nodded. "That's the garden." Colin looked up at the sky. "I believe I will live now." Dickon picked up a small spade. "Would you like to plant something?" Colin nodded. Mary placed a seed in his hand. "This is your first one." Colin pushed his fingers into the soil and gently placed the seed in. He smiled. "I planted something. I really did." Chapter 14. A Young Raja. Every day after that, they went to the garden. Colin grew stronger. He sat up straighter, laughed louder. He even began to stand for a few seconds, holding onto a tree. They played games, told stories, and listened to the robins sing. Sometimes they just sat in silence, happy to be together. Colin started calling the garden his kingdom. He said he was the Raja, and Mary and Dickon were his faithful subjects. He made them promise to keep the secret. "We must not tell the servants," Colin said. "No one must know yet. It's our magic." Mary agreed. "We're growing stronger too." Dickon said, "The garden makes people well. It's not just plants, it's something bigger." Colin began to study books about the body. He learned how muscles grow and why fresh air matters. He said, "I will walk. I know I will." One day, Colin stood without holding on. He took a step, then another. Mary gasped. "You did it." Dickon grinned. "The Raja walks." Colin laughed. "And I feel like shouting." He threw his arms in the air. "I am Colin Craven. I am alive." His voice echoed off the garden walls. The robin chirped wildly above them. Mary whispered, "Magic." Colin nodded. "It's real. We made it." The 3 children stood together, full of light and joy, under the bright sky. The secret garden had changed them all. And they knew the best was still to come. Chapter 15. Nest Building. Spring grew warmer. The days were longer, and the garden was full of life. Mary, Colin, and Dickon met there every day. New flowers opened, birds built nests, and green leaves covered every branch. It felt like a new world, made just for them. Colin changed more each day. He could now walk across the grass without help. His legs were still thin, but they were stronger. His face had color, and he laughed often. "I'm not a sick boy anymore," he said proudly. "I'm growing every day." They called the garden their secret kingdom. Colin was the young Raja. He made speeches to the flowers and thanked the sun for giving them life. Dickon would play his wooden pipe, and animals came near to listen. Mary felt light and happy. She skipped rope through the paths and helped Dickon with the flowers. She never wanted to leave the garden. Colin said the same. "I want to stay here forever," he said. "This garden gave me back my life." Sometimes they spoke about Mr. Craven, Colin's father. Mary said, "Do you think he'll be happy when he sees you?" Colin nodded. "He loved my mother. She made this garden. When he sees it alive again, and me walking in it, his heart will heal." Mary said softly, "Then we must keep working until it's perfect." Dickon agreed. "Nature is doing her part. We just have to help her." They planted more seeds and watered them every day. The garden looked more magical with each passing week. One morning, they saw something special. The robin they loved had built a nest in the rose bush. His mate sat inside, keeping the eggs warm. The children watched silently. It felt like a blessing. "They trust us," said Colin. "Even the birds know we belong here." Mary whispered, "It's all part of the magic." Chapter 16. "I won't," said Mary. Meanwhile, in the house, things began to change too. The servants noticed that Mary was different. She was cheerful, healthy, and full of life. She ate well and smiled often. Martha said, "The garden's done wonders for her." Mrs. Medlock saw the change but didn't ask too many questions. She was happy the child no longer caused trouble. One day, a letter came from Mr. Craven. He was still traveling, far away in Europe. He wrote that he might come home soon. Colin heard this and grew excited. "I want him to see me when I'm standing tall. I want him to know I'm not weak anymore." Mary agreed. "He'll be proud." But before that, something unexpected happened. One afternoon, while Colin was resting, a strict woman named Mrs. Medlock entered the room with a new doctor. This doctor had been sent by Mr. Craven to check on his son. Colin didn't like being examined like a broken object. When the doctor asked questions, Colin gave short, cold answers. Mary sat beside him, her lips tight. The doctor said, "He seems better, but he needs quiet. No excitement." Mary stood up. "He doesn't need more quiet. He needs air and sunshine." Mrs. Medlock was shocked. "Mary, that's no way to speak." But Mary didn't back down. "Colin is not dying. He's getting well because he's alive in the garden, not locked in this room." Colin sat up. "She's right. I've been in the garden every day." Mrs. Medlock gasped. "What?" Mary folded her arms. "We found the key. We go there in secret. That's why we are well." The doctor stared at Colin. "Is this true?" Colin nodded. "Yes. I can walk now." He stood up. Slowly, steadily, he walked across the room. Mrs. Medlock began to cry. The doctor sat down, speechless. Colin said, "I won't be treated like a patient anymore. I'm living now." Mary added, "And I won't stop going to the garden." The doctor smiled at last. "Then keep going, children. Whatever you're doing, it's working." Chapter 17. A tantrum. Though the garden was full of joy, Colin still had moments of fear. One afternoon, dark clouds rolled over the sky. It felt like a storm might come. Inside the house, everything seemed colder and quieter. Mary visited Colin in his room. He was lying in bed, frowning. "What's wrong?" she asked. "I had a pain in my back," he said in a small voice. "What if I start getting worse again?" Mary sat down beside him. "You're stronger every day. The garden proves it." Colin turned away. "But what if I do have a crooked back like my father? What if I die like people said?" Mary stood up. "Stop that," she said firmly. "You're just scaring yourself. That's not real." Colin's face turned red. "Don't tell me what to feel." Mary didn't back down. "You're acting like a baby. You believe in the magic. You must say it out loud. Say, 'I will live.' Say it now." Colin shouted, "I won't." "Then stay sick." Mary cried. "If you want to be weak and frightened, stay in this room forever." She turned and ran out. Colin lay still. The wind howled outside. A few tears rolled down his cheeks. After a while, he whispered, "I don't want to stay in bed. I want the garden." He rang the bell. When Martha came in, he said quietly, "Tell Mary to come back." Mary returned just before sunset. Colin looked at her, ashamed. "I was afraid. But I want to be brave." Mary took his hand. "Then come to the garden tomorrow. Walk again. The magic is waiting." Colin nodded. "I will." They sat together by the window. The wind passed. The sky grew calm. Hope returned. Chapter 18. The Mun Not Waste No Time. The next morning was fresh and bright. The storm had cleared. The garden glowed with color. Everything sparkled with dew. Dickon arrived early with tools and seeds. He brought news from his mother. "She says we must not waste time," he told Mary and Colin. "Spring moves fast. We must keep planting." Colin smiled. "Tell her we're working hard. And that I stood again yesterday." Dickon's eyes lit up. "That's grand. Soon you'll run like a deer." "I will," said Colin. "I feel stronger already." They walked together into the secret garden. Colin leaned only slightly on Mary's shoulder. The robin flew overhead and landed in a tree, singing brightly. Dickon said, "He sings louder now. It's the nest. The eggs must be ready to hatch." The three children worked for hours. Colin learned to dig and plant seeds. He knelt in the dirt and used his hands. He laughed as he worked, dirt on his face, sunlight in his hair. Mary watched him with joy. "You look like Dickon now," she said. "Like someone born on the moor." Colin smiled. "Then maybe I'll grow like the flowers." They planted marigolds and foxglove, daisies and pansies. Dickon showed them how to mix soil, how deep to place each seed. He spoke gently to the plants, as if they were old friends. Colin said, "What if my father comes back and finds me here?" Mary looked serious. He must find you when the garden is full, when it's at its best. Colin nodded. Then we must work faster. They made a plan. Every day they would care for the garden. Every day Colin would walk more steps. When Mr. Craven came home, Colin would meet him under the trees, standing tall and proud. That evening, as they walked back toward the house, Colin stopped on the path. "I forgot my stick," he said. "Do you want to go back for it?" asked Mary. Colin smiled. "No, I don't need it anymore." He took a deep breath and walked the rest of the way without help. Chapter 19. It's growing merry. Spring deepened. The secret garden was turning into a bright miracle. Flowers unfurled, and soft vines curled around old walls. The garden seemed to glow. Every morning, dew glistened on petals. The robins sang more sweetly. Earth smelled fresh and alive. One bright morning, Mary, Colin, and Dickon hurried through the house and out into the garden. Colin was smiling. He stopped under his favorite tree and turned to Mary. "It's growing," he whispered. "Look at it." Mary stepped close and gazed at the beds. Little green shoots peeked through soil. Crocuses, daffodils, and tiny tulips showed their heads. Buttercups and daisies sparkled like stars. The beds were tidy, and dead leaves were gone. Here and there, wild grasses bent in the breeze. Dickon knelt and laid his hand on the earth. "She's working hard," he said softly. "Look at her." He pointed to a newly planted rose bush. Small buds waited. "This one's mine," he added, smiling. Colin held Mary's hand. "The garden is ours. We did this together." Mary felt tears in her eyes. "I've never seen anything so beautiful." They walked through every path, under arches and near hidden corners. They smelled flowers and listened to insects buzzing in warm sunshine. Birds flitted from branch to branch, building nests and singing as they flew. Colin breathed deeply. "I feel better than I ever have." He looked at his arms and legs. He straightened. "I'm strong." Mary hugged him. "You did it." They sat on a low bench and watched the robin on its nest. The robin chirped softly, and its mate preened feathers. A tiny egg lay in soft moss. The children smiled. "It's almost time," Mary said. "Soon they'll hatch." They sat and watched in quiet joy, thinking how fragile and perfect it was. It felt like the end of a story, but they knew the story had more to come. Before leaving, Colin picked up a small bunch of daisies. They were simple and bright. He handed them to Mary. "For you," he said. Mary took them. "Thank you. I'll press them in a book." She smiled. "So we'll always remember." They walked back, feeling peaceful. The walls held in sunlight and promise. When they reached the door, Colin paused. "Tomorrow," he said, "I'll walk to the house." Mary nodded. "I'll help you." Dickon grinned. "You're ready, Raja." The robins sang one last song for them. They went in full of hope. Chapter 20. Come and see us tomorrow. The next day was warm and clear. It felt like summer's promise. Mary woke early, her heart pounding. She dressed quietly and ran to Colin's room. He stood by the window, dressed in fresh clothes. Colin turned around. He looked tall and bright. He smiled. "I'm ready," he said. Mary took his arm. They walked slowly down the long corridors, then out into the morning light. Dickon met them at the secret door, rolling a small wooden stool. Colin sat on the stool for a moment, catching his breath. Then, with Mary's hand and Dickon's gentle guidance, he took his first step. Then another. They moved slowly through the garden. Colin walked with soft eyes, heart racing, as he felt wind on his face and grass underfoot. The robin flew overhead as if cheering. At the edge of the garden, near the wall by the old house path, Mr. Craven stood. He watched quietly from a distance. His tall figure was backlit by sunshine. He looked tired, sad, and hopeful at once. Colin stopped. Mary whispered, "He's come." Mr. Craven took a step forward. Colin looked at him. His heart took a leap. He moved one foot toward his father, then another, until he stood still, free and steady. Tears filled Mr. Craven's eyes. He ran forward. "Colin, my son," he cried. Colin looked at him. "Father." They held each other. The whole world seemed to hush around them. Birds sang and breezes whispered. Mary and Dickon stood to the side. Mary felt tears too, warm and gentle. Mr. Craven stepped back and looked at them all. He looked at the garden, alive, bright, full of promise. Then he looked at Colin, standing proud. He turned to Mary. "Miss Mary," he said softly, "you and Dickon saved my son." Mary nodded but looked at Colin. She pointed at the garden. It was the garden that healed him. Mr. Craven walked through the door into the garden, touching buds and leaves. His face softened. "I want to be part of this," he said. Colin stepped forward. "Father, will you walk with me?" Mr. Craven smiled, tears in his voice. "Yes, my son, I will." They walked together down the path. Mary watched them, joy swelling in her chest. Dickon stood beside her, quiet and happy. As they left the garden to greet the waiting servants and household, Mary whispered, "It's just the beginning." The garden held its secret. It was a place of healing, hope, and new family. The robin watched from its nest. Sunlight wrapped the roses. Everything glowed. And they all lived stronger, happier lives because of one secret garden, and because they believed magic could be real. Chapter 21. Ben Weatherstaff. It was a calm morning when Colin asked, "May I show the garden to someone else?" Mary and Dickon looked up. "Who?" asked Mary. "Ben Weatherstaff," said Colin. "He's worked here forever. He knew my mother. He deserves to see it." Mary smiled. "Yes, let's bring him." They sent Dickon to find Ben. The old gardener looked suspicious when Dickon said Colin wanted to see him. "What's this?" grumbled Ben. "That lad's not supposed to be out of bed." "You'll see," said Dickon. Ben followed him, muttering. But when he saw Colin standing strong in the grass, he stopped short. He stared. His mouth opened but no words came. "I'm Colin Craven," the boy said. "And I'm alive." Ben blinked. "You look like your mother." "But how?" "The garden," said Colin. "Come and see." Ben stepped through the door into the secret garden. His eyes filled with tears. He walked slowly, touching the flowers. "I thought it was all gone," he said. "I never dreamed." He looked at Colin again. "You can walk." "Yes," said Colin. "I've worked for it every day. Mary helped me. And Dickon too." Ben wiped his eyes with his sleeve. "Bless you, lad. Your mother would have loved this." They showed him everything, the new beds, the robin's nest, the roses, the tools they used. Ben nodded again and again. "This is a miracle," he said. "No," Colin said softly. "It's magic." Ben smiled. "Aye, it's magic, then." Chapter 22. When the sun went down. Later that day, the garden was quiet. The sun began to lower in the sky, painting everything in gold. Colin sat under his tree. Mary and Dickon sat near. The robin flew overhead. Colin looked peaceful. "It's time," he said. "I want to show everyone I can walk. Tomorrow." Mary looked surprised. "Everyone?" "Yes," said Colin. "The servants, Mrs. Medlock, the doctor. I want them to see what's real." Dickon grinned. "They'll be shocked. They'll believe in the magic," Colin whispered. Mary nodded. "Then we must prepare." The next day, Colin dressed in his best clothes. His face shone. He walked slowly into the big hall, Mary beside him. The housemaid stood with wide eyes. Mrs. Medlock gasped. The doctor dropped his papers. Colin walked across the room, straight and tall. Then he stopped and turned. "I am well," he said. "Thanks to fresh air, good food, friends, and something I call magic." There was silence. Then, all at once, people began to clap. Tears ran down Mrs. Medlock's face. The doctor smiled. "This is not science, but it is truth." Mary stood back and watched. Her heart was full. That evening, they returned to the garden. The robin's eggs had hatched. Tiny beaks stretched up for food. The children watched in silence. Colin whispered, "New life." Everywhere. The sun slipped lower. Shadows danced. Flowers glowed in fading light. Mary took a breath. "We made this happen." Colin nodded. "And we'll keep it growing." Dickon looked up at the stars. "Magic never stops," he said. They sat quietly, holding the moment. Wind passed gently through the trees. The garden, once locked and silent, was now full of life. And so were they. Chapter 23. Magic. The sun was rising earlier now. The sky above the garden glowed pink and gold. Birds sang from every tree, and flowers opened wide, soaking in the light. Spring had fully arrived. Colin stood in the middle of the garden with Mary and Dickon. He looked stronger, his face brighter. His back was straight, and his arms didn't shake. He smiled and said, "I believe more every day. I believe in the magic." Mary nodded. "It's real. I feel it too." Dickon looked around the garden. Everything here was once dead or asleep, but it woke up. Same with Colin. Colin took a step forward. "I used to think I'd never walk, that I was broken. But then I started to come here. Every time I took a step, I felt something new. Now I know, it's not just the garden that's alive. I am too." They walked slowly along the garden paths. Colin stopped often to touch flowers, or feel the wind on his face. They passed the robin's nest. Inside were tiny open beaks, chirping softly. The eggs had hatched. Colin leaned close. They made it, he whispered. They grew. Dickon smiled. And so did you. Colin stood tall and stretched his arms. I am not afraid. Not anymore. They sat together under the apple tree. Colin closed his eyes and breathed deeply. Every day I say it to myself, I am well. I will live. The magic is in me, Mary whispered, and in the trees, and the flowers, and the sky. Colin opened his eyes. One day, I'll run. Not just walk, run across this grass. You will, said Mary. I know you will. The wind moved gently through the trees. The garden listened. Chapter 24. Let them laugh. That same afternoon, the children stayed longer in the garden. They didn't feel tired. Colin stood up and looked toward the house. I want to surprise them all, he said. I want them to see me walk. Mary and Dickon both turned. Everyone? Mary asked. Yes, said Colin. Let them laugh, let them cry. I want them to see what's real. Dickon grinned. They'll think it's a ghost. I don't care, said Colin. I'll walk straight into the room. No chair, no help. Just me. The next morning, they helped Colin dress in his best clothes. He brushed his hair, put on polished shoes. Mary held the door open, and Colin stepped into the hall alone. Dickon followed quietly behind. They moved through the big corridors. Servants turned their heads. They gasped. Some froze. One dropped a tray. Colin kept walking. He turned a corner and walked into the room where Mrs. Medlock and the doctor were speaking. The doctor stood up so fast his chair fell backward. Colin, he said. Yes, said the boy calmly. I'm not ill. I've been outside every day. I walk now. Mrs. Medlock had her hand over her mouth. Oh dear, oh, my dear boy. Colin smiled. It's true. Mary stepped forward. He's been in the garden. He healed in the sunshine. The doctor moved slowly toward Colin. Let me see you walk. Colin walked from one end of the room to the other. His steps were steady, his back straight. The doctor clapped his hands. This is amazing. A miracle. Colin nodded. It's not a miracle. It's work, it's believing, and it's magic. Mrs. Medlock wiped her eyes. Mr. Craven must see this. He will, said Colin. He must. Mary looked at him proudly. We'll bring him to the garden. The robin outside sang as if it agreed. Chapter 25. The curtain. It was a warm evening. The children sat in the garden beneath the apple tree. The sun was low in the sky, making long shadows on the grass. Colin leaned back against the tree trunk. His legs stretched before him, firm and sure. I keep thinking about Father, he said. He doesn't know I can walk. He doesn't even know how much I've changed. Mary looked at him. When he sees you, it will be the best surprise of his life. Colin nodded. I want him to come into the garden and see me here, standing tall. I want him to see the flowers and the trees. I want him to feel the magic too. Dickon said softly, he'll feel it. No one can step into this garden without feeling it. The robin flew over their heads and landed on the wall. It sang a strong, cheerful song. Colin smiled. He's part of it too. This garden belongs to all of us. They sat together, quiet and full of peace, as the light faded. Colin's voice broke the silence. I'm not afraid of the future anymore, he said. I used to think I'd die. But now I think of all the things I'll do, places I'll go, people I'll help. Mary nodded. You'll be happy. Colin looked around the garden, then up at the sky. This place saved me. Dickon smiled. It saved us all. They stood and began walking toward the garden door. Colin didn't need help. As he stepped through the ivy-covered archway, he turned back one more time. I can't wait to bring Father here, he whispered. Chapter 26. Its mother. Far away from the garden, in a quiet town near the mountains, Mr. Archibald Craven sat in a chair, reading a letter. He had been gone many months, traveling to ease his sorrow, but the sadness stayed with him. The letter was from the doctor. It spoke of Colin's sudden strength, of his walking, of his laughter. Mr. Craven read it twice, then 3 times. His hands trembled. How can it be? He whispered. Is it true? He stood up. For the first time in years, he felt light. He walked outside into the fresh air. A warm wind blew through the trees. He heard birdsong. That sound, so simple, so sweet, reminded him of her, his wife. He stood very still. In his heart, he heard her voice. It seemed to say, go home, go to the garden. He placed his hand over his heart. I will, he said. I will go now. He returned to Misselthwaite Manor the next day. The carriage rolled through the gates. The house looked the same, but something in the air felt different. He didn't go to the house first. Instead, he walked toward the gardens. His steps were slow but steady. As he neared the old wall, he saw something that made him stop. The door in the ivy-covered wall was open. Inside, the sun poured down onto grass and flowers. Birds flew overhead. Roses bloomed in full color. And there, in the middle of the garden, stood a boy. Not a sickly child, not a shadow, but a strong, bright, smiling boy. Colin. Mr. Craven stepped inside, unable to speak. The boy turned and saw him. "Father!" Colin cried. Mr. Craven's legs trembled. "Is it really you?" Colin ran toward him, ran with sure, strong steps, and threw his arms around his father. "Yes," said the boy. "It's me. I'm well. I walk. I run. I live." Mr. Craven held him tightly. "How is it possible?" Colin stepped back and pointed to the trees. "The garden. Mary found the key. She brought me here. Dickon helped. We worked every day. The garden healed me." Mr. Craven looked around. He saw the flowers, the green leaves, the sunshine. He remembered her, the way she used to smile here, her laughter, her joy. He fell to his knees and placed his hands in the grass. "It's your mother," Colin said gently. "She's here." Mr. Craven nodded slowly. "Yes. I feel her. I feel alive again." Mary stepped forward. "We kept it a secret until now." Mr. Craven stood up. He looked at Mary and smiled. "You gave me back my son." Dickon walked over and said softly, "And the garden gave us all back our hearts." Mr. Craven reached out and took Colin's hand. "We will never close this door again. This garden will stay open. Always." They stood together, father and son, in the heart of the secret garden. And though the walls still stood tall, the garden was no longer hidden. It was a place of life, of hope, and of joy. Chapter 27. In the garden. The door to the secret garden stood open. Sunshine poured through the archway. Mr. Craven stepped inside with Colin beside him. They walked slowly, side by side. Mary and Dickon followed close behind. The air smelled sweet with roses. Every flower was in bloom. Bees moved from petal to petal. Butterflies danced in the light. The birds sang in the trees. The garden was full of color, sound, and peace. Colin looked around. "This is where she came every day, isn't it?" he asked. Mr. Craven nodded. "Yes. Your mother loved this garden. I locked it because I missed her too much. But now I see, it was wrong to close it. It should have stayed alive." Colin placed his hand on his father's. "She's still here. I feel her in the trees. In the flowers. I think she's proud of us." Mr. Craven took a deep breath. He looked at the garden and then at his son. "And I am proud of you." They walked slowly down the main path. Colin did not need help. His steps were strong, his eyes bright. Servants had gathered at the far edge, standing still, not believing what they saw. Colin lifted his hand and waved. A maid cried softly. Others smiled and whispered, "It's him, and he walks." Mr. Craven turned and said, "You may come in. All of you. The garden belongs to us again." They stepped into the garden, carefully, as if it were a dream. They looked at the roses, the tall trees, the laughing children. Mary watched them all with quiet pride. She felt warm inside. She remembered the first time she saw the locked door, the first time she found the key. She had been lonely, angry, and sad. But now everything had changed. Dickon stood near the robin's tree. The birds sang louder than ever. His chicks were growing fast. He seemed to sing in celebration. Colin turned to his father. "Will you stay here with us now?" "Yes," said Mr. Craven. "I will never leave again." They sat on the grass together, under the apple tree. The shadows were soft, the sky calm and wide above. Mary whispered, "This place was once asleep, but now it's awake." Colin nodded. "So are we." And there, in the heart of the secret garden, with the earth alive beneath them and love around them, they began again.